morning, everyone. Good morning. Let's take a moment and just say a word of prayer. Gracious and all-inclusive God, we thank you for calling us together as your people without exception. Open our hearts today to the truth of your word, to the call of your spirit, and to the love that binds us together in Christ. May we be transformed to live in unity and love through Christ our Redeemer. Once again, I want to welcome each and every one of us as we share together on a topic that says, we all, without exception. Now, when you hear about this topic, one thing that comes to mind is the fact that we are gathered as a community of God's people. And this is not just a theological assertion. This is not just a mere statement, but this is rooted in the deep unity that exists within the family of God. So in a world that is mad with race, in a world that is mad with class, with gender, and all those things that try to divide us, that try to re-explain us, we are being invited by this topic to realize what we have in Christ and what we have become and who we are as a family and as a community. So we are also being invited to rediscover and to celebrate the beauty of unity and the power that brings. Psalm 133 verses 1 to 3 says, behold how pleasant. So it's important to realize that it is good. It's important to realize that it is pleasant. It is something to behold. And this evokes divine blessing. And this divine blessing is not just a mere statement. It is something that evokes the presence of God that is being expressed in our community when we gather together as one. And this is very important that we understand that unity here is a gift. There is power in unity. Unity is a gift. And it's not just a humanly manufactured unity of fact, but it is a divine blessing. So when we begin to see each other as blessings that God has sent to us as a community, when we begin to see each other as a gift that God has sent to us to complement our lives, to complement our family, to complement our community wherever we find ourselves. And when we begin to see each other that way, and then that's when we may begin to enjoy the blessing that God has brought and the blessing that resides in each and every one of us. Now, where we read in Galatians chapter 3, Paul, in trying to explain the word all, used the word pantes. Meanwhile, I have been taking Greek I've been taking Greek in this summer, so I'm taking some classes in summer, taking Greek classes. And some of the things I have seen is how some of these words that we find in the scriptures, kind of slow us down to be able to understand what is actually going on here. And so I tried to look up to discover that Paul was actually using the word pantes, which is all. And then the word all used in Galatians chapter 3 is pantes. And this pantes, Galatians chapter 3 verse 28, all. So this pantes, it carries a radical theological and social message. That the word pantes used there, emphasizes that all believers, regardless of ethnic, social, and gender status, are fully and equally incorporated into the new identity in Christ. So this arrangement or this definition of pantes being used by Paul in this particular passage destroys the pre-existing structures that were established by the law. Galatians 3 from verse 23 opens with the point that before faith came, the law was prevalent. So when Paul was talking about pantes as all used in this particular passage, he was trying to establish that all believers, regardless of ethnic, social, gender status, are fully and equally incorporated into the new identity in Christ. So this destroys the former divisions that were rooted in the idea of the segregations and divisions that existed between the Jews and the Greeks, between the slaves and the freeborns, and between people versus those whose color of skin were not the same. So the idea of all dismantles all those pre-existing laws and systems and structures, and then it brings us to universal inclusion. So the next idea that this brings is the fact that it talks about corporate unity, and the plural pantes joined with the word es ester, which is you are one, expresses corporate unity. So it's talking about the plural you, talking about not just an individual, but you as in all of you are one. So all of you together are one. So it's about, it expresses corporate unity. So the diverse individuals are not just individually saved, but collectively form a unified body in Christ. So even though we might be individually saved, but we form a unified body. And then when you look at the ethical and ecclesiastical consequences of this word all used in this place, one thing that is very clear is that the church must embody this reality. And if the church has to embody this reality, my friends, it means that there shouldn't be ethnic supremacy. So whether it is Greek or Hebrew or white or black or brown, there shouldn't be any kind of ethnic supremacy. Again, there shouldn't be any social stratification, since we are all one, because the existing patriarchal hierarchies and the prevalent structures that were laid down by the law have been dismantled by the idea that you all are one in Christ. So there should be no social stratification. There will be no gender-based marginalization, especially where I come from. You still have a lot of cultures that do not appreciate a particular gender, cultures that does not appreciate how people choose to show up in life, express their sexuality or express their gender. The idea of you all in Christ used by Paul here suggests that we have to begin to dismantle these structures, dismantle these cultures, dismantle these systems that have held us back from expressing our true unity and our corporate existence as one body in Christ. Paul actually does not suggest we erase identity. He rather insists that identity must no longer be the basis of separation or oppression in the community of Christ. People should be allowed to be themselves. People should be allowed to express themselves. People should be allowed to show up the way God has granted us grace. In our churches, we must begin to build communities that reflect this truth, where no one is ordered or left behind. The church has to build communities that reflect this truth. We should intentionally dismantle power structures that marginalize people. Instead, we should elevate every voice as being sacred. There's no voice that shouldn't be heard. People's voices should be given expression, and it is in giving expression to the voices of people that is when we can truly appreciate the diversity and the inclusivity that God has blessed us with. For you all are one. And friends, the Pentecost taught us that people that gathered on the day of Pentecost, each of them heard their languages, heard their voices. And in the same expression of the Spirit, people had opportunity to speak diverse tongues. But they were under the same umbrella, under the same room. And that's the power of unity. So we should not suppress voices of marginalized and the minority people. We should give people the voice. And you can even imagine that a lot of languages are disappearing because some other languages are swallowing some other languages. So some languages are no longer anywhere to be found. We should allow languages to exist. We should allow people to express themselves in whatever tongues that God has provided and given them opportunity to. We should not drain that gift that God has brought. Friends, Ecclesiastes chapter 3:28 is also a call to ecclesial justice, ensuring that all manner of people, women, racial minorities, disabled individuals, and all the poor people and everyone that is present is fully seen, is fully heard, and honored in leadership, in worship, and in decision making. The systems that divide us, systems of race, gender, wealth, sexuality, ability, must be confronted by the truth of the gospel. You all are one. It also emphasizes that we have to make sure that we grant people opportunity to live.